Hello my viewers, welcome to my channel. Subscribe, like, and don't forget to be part of the conversation by simply sharing your thoughts on what you think about this video. Today I welcome you on a thought-provoking exploration into the origins of Ashkenazi Jews and the narratives surrounding their ancestry. So our journey begins with an examination of Genesis 10 verse 2 to 5 as we delve into a perspective challenging the conventional understanding of the Jewish diaspora. Now the focus towards the Khazars, a group of Europeans who, according to some interpretations, underwent a mass conversion to Judaism in the 8th century. Now, as we unravel the threads of history, we will explore the claim that a substantial percentage of today's so-called Ashkenazi Jews trace their roots back to the Khazars, challenging the notion of them being the original Jewish population. We know this, guys, so join me as we navigate through historical context, genetic studies, and the complexities of identity, questioning established narratives and fostering a nuanced conversation about the diverse origins of Jewish communities.
Today I want to talk about Genesis chapter 10, verses 2 through 5, where the Bible reads, "The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog and Madai and Javan and Tubal and Meshach and Tiras, and the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz and Riphath and Togarmah, and the sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families, in their nations." Now, the reason that I read those scriptures to you is that they clearly state that Ashkenaz is one of the Gentile nations. Now, 80 to 85% of today's so-called Jewry, those who claim to be Jews in the world today, 80 to 85% of them are what is known as Ashkenazi Jews. And an Ashkenazi Jew is so named because he primarily descends from this guy in the Bible named Ashkenaz, which is clearly listed as one of the Gentile nations. Now, the reason for this is that there was a nation of people who were Europeans, known as the Khazars, and in the 8th century after Christ, the whole nation of the Khazars turned unto Judaism. They converted to the religion of Judaism. Of course, it was a false, Christ-rejecting religion. And for a few hundred years, the empire of the Khazars was a power in Eastern Europe, and they followed the religion of Judaism. But eventually they were defeated by the Russians, and they were scattered into Eastern Europe. And so a lot of the Eastern European Jews today are the descendants of the Khazars.
And so a lot of the Eastern European Jews today are the descendants of the Khazars.
And in fact, DNA testing has even confirmed that the Ashkenazi Jews have about 80% of their genetics and 80% of their ancestry from Europeans.
Christian Zionists in America have no idea that the people living in Israel are not native, the area of Palestine, Israel, whatever you want to call it. They were not born there. They immigrated from Europe.
Ashkenazi Jews.
They were Ashkenazi Jews who came in from Europe and with the rifle took the land. God didn't give it to them. They took it at the point of a rifle, shooting Arabs, and they killed Muslims and Christians. They slaughtered them, massacres, women, children, horrible massacres. That is the history of Israel, 1948, and I dare any Christian Zionist to prove me wrong, because I can show you the historical records of those that took place in 48. They were horrible, absolutely horrible. The people who, and because of that, the Arabs developed a fury, an anger that European Ashkenazis just flooded in to Palestine and violently pushed them off their land.
And the other 20% would be Middle Eastern. So today's so-called Jews, the Ashkenazis, which again, like I said, is 80 to 85% of so-called Jews in the world today, and it is the primary type of Jew that immigrated into the nation of Israel and Palestine. And it is also the primary type of Jew that is living in the United States today, by far.
I find it a bit odd and strange. Israel don't allow no DNA testing. Now you think that could be for a reason? They don't want nobody finding out. I'll tell you why. They're not Jewish, or they're not Jews or Jewish. They're all Ashkenazis. They Ashkenazi Poland and Ashkenazi German. They wasn't Ashkenazi Jews. They just threw the name Jews on there to replace the original Jews. They weren't Jewish and Jews. No, they were Ashkenazis. They took on the name Jewish to fool the world and the people into believing that they are the original people. That's why they stole everything. But you don't want to do no DNA testing? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious? A bit odd and strange.
So these Ashkenazi Jews, according to the Bible, are actually Gentiles. And I'm not the one calling them Ashkenazi Jews. They'll even call themselves Ashkenazi Jews. You could even just go to Wikipedia and just type in Ashkenazi Jews, and it will explain these things to you.
Ashkenazi Jews. About half of Jewish people around the world today identify as Ashkenazis, meaning that they descend from Jews who live in Central or Eastern Europe. The term was initially used to define a distinct cultural group of Jews who settled in the 10th century in the Rhineland and Western Germany.
You can talk to a rabbi and you can talk to whoever you want, and you'll find out that these Ashkenazi Jews are the descendants of converts to Judaism. And the reason that that is significant is that a lot of Christian Zionists today, they claim that these Jews are God's chosen people because of the fact that they descend from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But in reality, they don't descend from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob any more than you or I do.
But in reality, they don't descend from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob any more than you or I do.
Okay, they have some blood mixed in from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob from intermarrying with other Jews, but so do the rest of us Europeans. Primarily, they are Europeans. They are not Middle Eastern Jews. And that's why when you look at those in Hollywood today that are so-called Jews, they don't look like Middle Eastern people. They look like people because they are the descendants of converts to Judaism. Caucasian converts. Khazars, that's why they're called Ashkenazi, because they're primarily descended from the Gentiles.
Now, these are not claims, they are facts which they will never tell you. But hearing this from one of their own, exposing themselves, it really adds another layer to this discussion. Now, these facts made in the video presents a perspective known as the Khazar hypothesis, suggesting that a significant portion of Ashkenazi Jews descended from a medieval Central Asian group, the Khazars, who supposedly converted to Judaism. Now, while this theory has been discussed in scholarly circles, it's essential to recognize that the consensus among historians, archaeologists, geneticists often diverges from this perspective, and we know why. Genetic studies, including research on mitochondria, DNA, and Y chromosomes, suggest a Middle Eastern origin for a substantial portion of Jewish communities. Additionally, historical records indicate a continuous Jewish presence in the Middle East, including the land of Israel. Now, the narrative about Ashkenazi Jews being predominantly descendants of Khazars is not universally accepted and has faced criticisms. We know the reasons why. Jewish identity is complex, encompassing religious, cultural, and historical dimensions beyond genetic considerations, as they say. Now, the largest study to date of Asian DNA from Jewish individuals reveals unexpected genetic subgroups in medieval German Ashkenazi Jews and sheds light on the founder event in which a small population gave rise to most present-day Ashkenazi Jews. The findings, spearheaded by geneticists from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and the Harvard Medical School, were published in November 30th. About half of Jewish people around the world today identify as Ashkenazi, meaning that they descend from Jews who lived in Central or Eastern Europe. The term was initially used to define a distinct cultural group of Jews who settled in the 10th century in the Rhineland in Western Germany. Now, Ashkenazim adapted their traditions to Europe and underwent a transformation in their interpretation of Judaism. In the late 18th and 19th centuries, Jews who remained in or returned to historical German lands experienced a cultural reorientation under the influence of the Haskalah and the struggle for emancipation, as well as the intellectual and cultural ferment in urban centers. Now, some gradually abandoned Yiddish in favor of German and developed new forms of Jewish religious life and cultural identity. Throughout the centuries, Ashkenazim made significant contributions to Europe's philosophy, scholarship, literature, art, music, and science. As a proportion of the world Jewish population, Ashkenazim were estimated to be 3% in the 11th century, rising to 92% in 1930 near the population's peak. The Ashkenazi population was significantly diminished by the hordes carried out by Nazi Germany during World War II, affecting almost every European Jewish family. Now, in 1933, prior to World War II, the estimated worldwide Jewish population was 15.3 million. Israeli demographer and statistician Sergio Di Pegola implied that Ashkenazim comprised 65% to 70% of Jews worldwide in 2000, while other estimates suggest more than 75%. Now, as of 2013, the population was estimated to be between 10 million and 11.2 million. Genetic studies indicate that Ashkenazim have both Levantine and European, mainly Southern European ancestry. These studies draw diverging conclusions about the degree and source of European admixture, with some focusing on the European genetic origin in Ashkenazi maternal lineages, contrasting with the predominantly Middle Eastern genetic origin in paternal lineages. Now, the Ashkenazi Jewish population has resided in Europe for much of its 1,000-year existence. However, its ethnic and geographic origins are controversial due to the scarcity of reliable historical records. Previous genetic studies have found links to Middle Eastern and European ancestries, but the admixture history has not been studied in detail yet, partly due to technical difficulties in disentangling signals from multiple admixture events. Now, Ashkenazi Jews, numbering approximately 10 million worldwide, are individuals of Jewish ancestry with a recent origin in Eastern Europe. The first individuals to identify as Ashkenazi appeared in northern France and the Rhineland, Germany, around the 10th century. 3 centuries later, Ashkenazi communities emerged in Poland, but the sources of migration are not completely clear. The Ashkenazi communities in Poland have grown rapidly, reaching by the 20th century millions in size and a wide geographic spread across Europe. Due to the relative scarcity of relevant historical records, the ethnic origins of present-day Ashkenazi Jews are debated, and in such a setting, genetic data provides crucial information. A number of recent studies have shown that Ashkenazi individuals have genetic ancestry intermediate between European and Middle Eastern sources, consistent with the long-held theory of a Levantine origin followed by Persian in Europe. The estimated amount of accumulated EU gene flow varied across studies, with the most recent ones employing genome-wide data, converging to a contribution of around 50% of the AJ ancestry. Now, despite these advances, little is known about the identity of the European admixing populations and the time of the admixture events. Speculations abound due to the wide geographic dispersion of the Jewish populations since medieval times, but with very few historical records to support any claim. Further complicating the picture is an Ashkenazi-specific founder event that has taken place lesser than a millennium ago, as manifested by elevated frequencies of disease mutations, reduced genetic diversity, and an abundance of long tracts of identity by descent. Results from recent study were not decisive regarding the relative times of the European admixture and the founder event, calling for a more in-depth investigation. We have come to the end of the video. Share your views, contributions in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and see you in my next video as I bring you another interesting video.